it's time to bring the discussions to life with all of you, as I've already introduced during our introduction. So, over the past couple of days and also during today's conference, some of you have shared thoughtful questions, reflections, and ideas about the future of social robotics. So, first off, thank you to everyone who engaged with the community, submitted questions, and contributed to the conversation. And for this session, it's meant to be more open, personal, and interactive. So we'll be joined by Professor Gabriel Skantze and Oscar Klock, our panel participants from Furhat and the research community, as we dive into some of the topics that you have that sparked most of your curiosity today. So sit back, enjoy the discussion, and feel free to continue sharing your questions in the Q&A or the chat. Now let's get started. Welcome, Oscar, and welcome, Gabriel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, what are your thoughts on today's speakers and today's notes?
Amazing. As always, I would say it's great to see what the community is using the robots for, all these different ways. So, working on the robot and this product, we're always happy to see how it's actually used out in the real world.
Totally agree. Yeah.
And now, as we promised our audience today for the conference, that this will be more personal and more live. So let's get to the audience questions. So the first one is, nice new microphone for multi-party. Does the speech volume from Furhat mask the user answers when they speak or interrupt before Furhat end of turn? So again, to point the exact question, does the speech volume from Furhat mask the user answers if they interrupt Furhat before he finishes?
Yeah, so the current setup right now, basically what we're talking about is echo cancellation. So the ability for Furhat to listen while it's speaking at the same time and not ending up in a loop where it responds to itself. And the first iteration of this hardware setup doesn't come with that capability, but it is something that we're actively looking into implementing in the future.
This is very interesting. This next question, it's actually interesting for me myself. So it's asking, what is the most unexpected use case you have encountered for the Furhat robot?
Yeah, I guess we have encountered a lot of different use cases. Some more unexpected than others. I'm using Furhat myself in teaching, and the students always come up with very interesting use cases. I don't know, a Furhat tarot card reader was quite interesting, using the camera to be able to look at the tarot cards and engage in interesting conversations about them. And that was quite unexpected.
Yeah.
Do you have any?
Did it work?
Yeah, it worked very well.
Okay.
It was very good. I mean, they use one of these vision LLMs to sort of get the tarot card to initiate a conversation around that, and then letting Furhat be a tarot card reader.
So these models have contact with that world.
Apparently,
Apparently.
yeah. No.
So for these trials, at least there were some trials, whether they did succeed or not, but there were some trials. But has it ever occurred to you that, for example, there's a certain use case that you decided, no, it's not, we're not going to even try it? Like, did you reach that level, or did you see someone reach that level before?
You mean in complexity or ethically?
Well, both. You can answer the question as you please, whichever you think is more is more appropriate to answer.
I think so. Ethically, I think that speaks for itself. Why we wouldn't go? I think we have certain boundaries that we try to abide by. But when it comes to complexities, one is quite often requested and tried, and that is to have a robot on stage in panel discussions at the same time. So someone wants to ask it a question, and then other people are going to speak, and then the audience are going to ask questions. Very strange social situation. So it's not something that, well, it's very tricky. And we have done versions of this where it works, but attempting to create something that works in a general sense, to be able to be on stage, talk to the audience, talk to the panel, be quiet when they talk to each other and so on. That's something that we've, for now at least, kind of maybe put on the shelf for a little bit.
Okay, we have another question from Mary Ellen Foster, and she's asking about the directional approach, and she's asking whether it works with any microphone or only the specific one that was shown during the demo.
Yeah, it's for now only with that microphone. It would be great to support other microphones as well, but every microphone is different. So we have worked specifically with this one. So the processing of like the getting where the audio is coming from and so on is specifically designed around the special configuration of this microphone. But we are starting there. But the idea is that you both can do this in Creator now, that you have this multi-party support, but it is also supported in the real-time API so that you can know who said what. And it also works actually if you have, let's say you have a quiz game and I start to answer, I give an answer in sort of the same speech recognition session. Oscar continues. It will actually manage to separate which part of the speech recognition result came from me and which part came from Oscar also. So it's actually very flexible for these kind of setups.
Yeah, it was also obvious when you were using non-verbal, non-human sound like this. It was also very obvious. So we have another question, and I can tell from the question that this is a member of the Furhat community, not for his first time to attend the conference. So Kevin is saying that in partnership with Transylvania University, they have taken the Furhat Robot River to many events that have LAN connection. So he's asking, are you working on tools which would allow the robot to work with local cellular Wi-Fi connections for speeds around 100 to 300 megabits per second? Because this, he's saying, would allow him or would allow them to visit more impactful locations and to make more impact with Furhat.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm interpreting the question correctly, but when it comes to cellular network, there are kind of two ways there. If he's asking about having an integrated SIM card in the robot, it's something that we've had, on the map, but currently not pursuing right now. The thing that we do that works most of the time is to have a separate router that has the capability of having a SIM card.
SIM card inside.
And then you can do Ethernet cable from the router to the robot, or you do a Wi-Fi from the router. So that's the current setup. But he's pointing out something that is quite common if you move the robot around, and it's quite network dependent. If you're gonna run third-party applications like the LLMs and so on, then you want to have something that you know has the right ports open and so on. So it's a valid question.
Yeah. So the seller was on the map, but we're not currently pursuing. But for the Wi-Fi connection, this is a practical solution for now, the one that you provided, Oscar, up until we reach the moment where this is applicable and doable by Furhat.
It might be a Starlink disc on head or something next.
I've actually seen people use Furhat with Starlink at one conference, and it worked pretty well.
They did. Wow.
So,
okay.
yeah.
Then we already have a working solution right now for you, Kevin.
There you go. Starlink.
And now we have another question. So the question says, when are we able to get concurrent listening and speaking for Furhat SDK? Are you working on any implementation to improve the turn-taking challenge?
Yeah, so this goes back a little bit to the question we had before, and actually we do have implementations for supporting things like barging and interruptions, which means that you have to listen and speak at the same time. And it's not so much on a software constraint now in the sort of platform as it is sort of a hardware constraint. So for the most recent version of Furhat Creator, for example, there is an interruptible option that you can try. And if you run in the SDK on a laptop, it might very well work. It doesn't work with a standard microphone with a robot. You need some kind of echo cancellation thing that the standard microphone doesn't give. So that's also what we are looking into, how we can provide that kind of echo cancellation solution with the robot, potentially also with this new microphone. But so much of the software there is in place, but it's more of a sort of hardware issue.
Okay, great. So in short, for the last part of this question is whether or not you're working on any implementation to improve, then yes, you are working on implementations and you already have done so far.
Yeah, again, if you want to try the interruptible, you can try it in Furhat Creator, for example, and see if it works in your specific hardware setup.
Perfect. So now we have a kind of long question, but it's multi-layered. So we'll go layer by layer. The question is by Gabor Ritter. So let's go with the first layer. He states, currently the main issue on our side is the interruption or margin handling. So is native interruption supported? And if not, is this mostly a technical limitation or mainly an implementation related challenge? But I think this is the kind of related to.
Yeah, exactly. I think I kind of answered it. I don't know. Do we have?
I think so. Yeah.
We can move to the next layer of his own question because I think we've already answered this part. So the next layer states, what architecture is recommended for real-time AI conversation flows?
So it depends a bit on what is meant by real time here. Maybe the person means like one of these newer real time speech to speech models. If that is the case, then I would recommend using one of those, like OpenAI real time model that you can connect to Furhat with our so-called real time API, which allows you to stream audio back and forth to the robot and automatically add lip sync to whatever audio is coming from the model. So we have done this quite successfully, a couple of demos like that. It works very well, actually. So look into the real-time API and the streaming of audio and connect that.
I believe there is an example.
Could be even in our repo examples. Yeah.
So you're lucky for this question. We already have demos and this is already done and we have a very clear answer. Now for the last layer or the last part of Gaber's question, he's stating, are there plans to expose lower level timing controls in the SDK for researchers experimenting with custom turn-taking models?
I would sort of continue to say that you should look into the real-time API because that allows you to really stream have very low level control in different ways, either if you want to use the speech recognition and speech synthesis components on the robot, or if you want to run that yourself. Then you can stream the audio back and forth and implement those things. You can also run the regular things, the speech recognition and the speech synthesis on the robot while streaming the audio at the same time if you want to connect your own components that analyze the audio and so on. So it's very flexible in that way, actually.
Yeah, so in general, if people have missed it, check out the real-time API. It's available on the latest updates because there's a lot of cool features that allows you to do a lot of these things. And it was really designed to allow people to really build their own solutions. So we have all these different ideas of what we want to build, but we've decided that we should just let it be open so that people can build these kinds of technologies.
And now, before we end this panel discussion, I have a question from one of our participants, and we've had our fair share so far of very complex and very deep questions. So I would say that this question might not be that deep or that complex, but it's very, very, very important. And I think personally, whenever anyone would see a Furhat robot, this would be the first question that comes to mind. It has to be. So you see a robot or you think a robot which is a, a complete robot. So we have Armando asking, why does it not have arms and legs?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's when you design a robot, you have to make a lot of compromises in different ways, depending on how you want to use it. And there are different sort of things you want to achieve by the specific design. Furhat has some things it wants to achieve. We want to achieve very natural face-to-face interaction. So we want to have a very expressive face that is of the same size and shape as a human face, so that it actually feels like you're talking to a similar experience as talking to a person. So if you want to combine that with a full body, of course, then you have a very big robot that you can't put in a suitcase and take with you, which you can do with Furhat. So if you want to have both of these things, a face that has these communication capabilities while also being able to take it with you, yeah, then you have this kind of form factor, of course. So you could of course imagine like a smaller robot, but then yeah, it's a very different types of communication. It allows for different types of use cases. So yeah, this is like you're trying to strike a balance here between different sort of things you want to
Kind of
achieve.
a priority cost. It depends upon the application that we want to reach, and therefore we develop this. And also because, as you were saying, how easy it is to take for that robot and for demos and for experiments and for everything. Otherwise, it would be much harder to take a real size human robot. That would be much harder. Completely right. So I think this brings us to the end of our panel discussion. So a huge thank you to both of you, Oscar and Gabriel, for sharing your insights and for taking the time to answer all of these thoughtful questions from our audience today.